Welcome to the Voices of the Learning Network podcast, where we bring together practitioners, thought leaders, and innovators shaping the future of learning and development. Hey, I'm your host today, Bill Banham, one of the directors at the Learning Network, and today we're diving into ways that marketing techniques can transform L&D. Our guest this time is Bianca Baumann, VP of Learning Solutions and Innovation at Ardent Learning. Bianca is well known for her work at the intersection of learning, marketing, and innovation. She's a newly published author, and she's passionate about one powerful principle: learner before content. Listen in as we explore how understanding your audience more deeply can help you design learning that cuts through the noise, builds trust, and truly supports workplace performance. Bianca also shares bold perspectives on where L&D should sit within the organisation and why communication is often the most overlooked driver of success. So whether you're an L&D pro, a business leader, or just curious about the evolving workplace, this conversation will give you a fresh perspective and hopefully some actionable insights. I hope you enjoy this conversation that I had with Bianca. Bianca, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm great, Bill. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
So let's start with your guiding principle, which is learner before content. What does that mean in practice, and why is it such a game changer for L&D, in your opinion?
I guess it is my guiding principle. I should print a T-shirt maybe and wear that to conferences. But it's the idea really is that we're often in a situation as L&D pros that subject matter experts come to us and say all this content needs to go into this new training. And A, we don't even know if we need training, and B, all of that content probably doesn't need to be in the training. And what the subject matter experts for sure forget is that there is an employee or a learner at the other side of receiving that training, receiving that content. So it's really important to take a step back and understand who that learner is, what they need, when they need it, what motivates them, what the pain points are, what their needs are, to then really tailor that content and the training to them. And that is really that is a guiding principle, because if you don't know what your learners need, you're just pushing content out that no one is interested in, and we're really checking a box. It's less about personalization, it's less about motivating our people, but it's we're feeding into that traditional L&D idea of, well, you just have to check the box and take the training.
So you've long championed the idea of borrowing from marketing. What are some marketing strategies or techniques that learning professionals can adopt to better engage their audiences?
Think about your audience, right? Marketers are extremely good at doing that. Imagine if they didn't, all of us would receive the exact same emails with the exact same content all the time, and they wouldn't be able to personalize the experience. So yeah, get to know your audience beyond the target audience analysis. Find ways to really grab someone's attention. Often in learning and development, when we design training, it starts with, in this course, you are going to learn. Right? So we kind of list those learning objectives and performance objectives. And where those are important for us as designers, the learners really don't care about those learning and performance objectives. I think most of us know that. So really identify more of the with them, what's in it for me, really hook them in from the beginning. Again, if you think about marketing copy, right, there's usually a hook in the beginning that really gets me excited, right? That wants me to open that email because the subject line is quite intriguing. So yeah, find that hook, which you can tie back to your learner personas or your target audience analysis there, to really understand what it is that motivates them. And the third one, I would say, I mean, there's many more, but the third one is really good writing. It sounds very obvious because that's what we do every day, but I met a lot of L&D professionals and IDs and instructional designers and learning experience designers who are really just not good writers. I hate to say it out loud, but it's a really, really crucial skill that we need to have. And it's not just about breaking down difficult or technical jargon into something that's easy to understand. But again, it's about the hook, it's about the right tone of voice for your learners, which is different depending on the audience to you're writing to. Having clear call to actions in the end, CTAs, that is something marketers are really good at. They give us something as a follow up. Now that you've read this blog, go here and do something else, right? The best we often do when it comes to specifically e-learning modules is we'll close the module in the top right corner. I think we can do better. We have their attention right there. So what else do we actually want them to do? Like I said, there's many, many more things, but those are my top three I would like to mention.
You've described today's workplace as noisy. What advice would you give to learning professionals trying to cut through that noise and capture attention?
Really understanding our learners where they are already at. I see a lot of new technologies coming out all the time, and with AI, it's even more so. And I also see organizations jumping on these bells and whistles tools. And it's like, why do you do that? Why don't you just build something with the tools you already have in place? Because learners are already there. So instead of adding more to the noise, right? Meet your learners where they are. That could be email, that could be Slack or Microsoft Teams, whichever direct messaging system you're using. That could be within your platforms. If you're thinking about, for example, Salesforce, your CRM, you could have tooltips within the CRM that help your learners or guide your learners throughout a specific situation in the moment of need, exactly, right there when they need it. So really understanding where your learners are, who your learners are, and it goes back to the writing as well. Make it exciting for them, especially if you decide to create an email course, which is actually a fantastic way to repurpose content and meet your learners where they are. What is that hook? How do you, really make it exciting for them? And I think, yeah, those are some kind of low hanging fruit that, you can look at to start cutting through that noise.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Trust comes up often in your
Mm.
work, Bianca. How do you see trust shaping the effectiveness of learning initiatives and wider organizational culture?
For me, it's really the foundation of everything. And I think a lot of L&D professionals are sitting on a soapbox and they really hold on to all there is that has to do with learning and training and development. But for me, trust is also opening it up to the organization and have others help me create content. So I already mentioned repurposing content. Yeah, that's something that L&D would do. But what about crowdsourcing content? So, really going out there to your own employees who have a lot of institutional knowledge and help you create content as well that you can then package up in a way that works for your employees. But yeah, really trusting. And on the other side, I think it's really, really important that if L&D professionals want to have a seat at the table, which everyone talks about, you need to build that trust with the business line. So they actually trust you, that you understand what's going on in the organization, how to translate a business need into a learning need, if it even is a learning need, and how these things tie together. But that trust is really earned. So this is something, you have to work on every day to show your organizations and your business line leaders that you're there with them to help them solve their problems and look good in front of their bosses, which then makes L&D look good.
So, looking ahead, you
Mm.
shared quite a bold vision of L&D sitting within the business lines rather than HR. What opportunities would that open up for learning professionals and organizations?
If we were to sit with the business lines, we would to see firsthand every day what's actually happening, and we would be able to be much more proactive to business needs versus being reactive. Because right now, what's happening is these business line leaders come to us and say, "I need training." We're like, "Whoa, hold on a second, what's going on?" Right? Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation about this. Why do you think we need training? What's going on? What has changed? Right? And often in these conversations, which is really performance consulting, you identify that, oh, it's actually not a training need, right? It's a communication need instead. For example, I always used to like to use the following example. You know, we all know how to floss our teeth, Yet a lot of adults don't floss their teeth, but it's not because we don't know how to do it. It's just that, it's not a habit. It's kind of not in our daily, well, habit or activities. So, if you translate that into the business, it's the same thing, right? A lot of our employees know exactly what the right thing is to do, and it's not a training, it's more of an awareness or a communication campaign. But anyway, if we were to sit with the business, we would be able to here, be there right at the front line to help the business understand what a training need is, what a communication need is, what an awareness strategy would be, and really help ourselves funnel that and really spend the chunk of our time on high value training requests versus the little requests that really don't make a difference to the bottom line.
Okay, and for L&D teams wanting to build stronger business acumen, the first steps that you would recommend would be what?
Trying to get into those meetings with the business line leaders, right? So they usually have weekly meetings, monthly meetings, whatever it is, but just knock on their door, start building those relationships. And might not be able to get into the meetings right away, right? Because there's like, who's this person? I usually see them once a year when I need to reach out to them to request my new compliance training or whatever it is, right? But yeah, build those relationships, and asking to sit in meetings is a great way, and position it as, I'm not there to, get any secrets out of this. I really just want to help you again look good in front of your team and in front of your bosses. And yeah, building relationships with business lines across the organization. And that would also include internal comms and marketing, because we actually have a lot of common with marketing and internal comms. So if we can actually join forces and work together on certain things, especially if I sit in a business line, I identify it's not a training need, it's a communication need. I can now reach out to my friends in internal comms and say, hey, can you actually help with this? It's also connected to change management. So whenever you have a big training initiative, you should have a management initiative with this. So already having a relationship with internal comms and or marketing is really, really helpful. So yeah, start there, build partnerships and relationships. And if you're in person, bring cookies or donuts to the meetings. That's always helpful.
But I guess it's more important before you knock on those doors and try and impress somebody with your personality to prove to them that you are an important strategic partner by showing them the work that you're doing and proving yourself through your work, perhaps before you even knock on that door. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that could totally be an option. It really depends on who the person is that's, on the other side. Like some of them will be super happy to invite you in. Others might be a little bit more hesitant. And then, yeah, having some proof points of, hey, here's how it's done with other business lines, absolutely will go a long way.
Big question for you now. How do you see emerging technologies, AI in particular, impacting how we design and deliver learning in the next few years?
So I think the design and delivery we already see. I compare the rise of AI to what we saw a couple of years back when rapid e-learning authoring tools were a thing, and all of a sudden everyone thought they can create training. And in the long run, everyone came back to L&D because they realized, well, they can't. And so I have a feeling something similar is going to happen with AI. Yes, it's helpful to speed up some of our design and delivery process, but it's still about a human machine relationship. So we always need to be in the loop. And there's so many studies and research out there now that show that many of these AI tools are not doing what vendors tell us they're doing, including the big LLMs. They're still hallucinating. So, yes, use them as brainstorming partners, use them for idea creation, use them to help you write, multiple choice and assessment questions. Perfect for that. Use it to analyze interview data if you conduct learner interviews and stakeholder interviews, but you still got to check the output. For me, where the bigger piece really will come in is how AI is changing the way we work, which then will have an impact on the way we learn, hopefully in the flow of work. So I'm excited for a future where we have agentic AI, and LMSs are really a thing of the past in terms of they're still somewhere because the content still needs to sit somewhere. But there's an agentic AI system in place, an army of AIs, if you want, so that really deliver the training to us at the right at the right time, at the right place, but you still will need a human in the place to actually create that content that feeds, that machine.
My feeling is we're getting closer, so when I'm doing my research for an interview like this, I wouldn't use chat gpt, of course, but I might use, to your point, an agentic option like Perplexity. So
Mhm.
I think we're getting there. But this is not an interview with me, it's an interview with you. Just two more questions for today. For L&D practitioners listening who may feel stuck in traditional ways of working, what's one practical action that they can take tomorrow to start shifting towards a more innovative, learner-centered approach?
Start small is always one really helpful starting point. I mentioned an email course earlier. So, take a course that you currently have, and you could do two things with that. A, look at the title of the course right now. Is it something like Social Media 101? Right? Because often those are our course titles. Rewrite those course titles to make it more exciting. Marketers use, well, obviously ChatGPT or any LLM, but there's specific headline analyzers. Sharethrough.com is one of those examples where you can actually put your headline in. It's obviously supported by AI as well, but you actually get a score. It's kind of cool, and it gives you some tips on how you can improve. I know it says headline, but same for the course, and just start rewriting that course and keep it in the same format. So that would be one way. Or if you're really a little bit braver already, take that course and chunk it up into 6 to 8 week email course and start sending out or repurposing that content of, let's say, that e-learning module, and send it out through email. But yeah, start small with a small group. Proof is always in the pudding, and then go back to the business and say, hey, I tried this with as a pilot. Here are the results. I think it worked well.
Excellent. And just finally for today, Bianca, how can our listeners connect with you? Is that LinkedIn, email? Are you super cool and all over Instagram and places? What would you like to say?
I'm not an Instagram person whatsoever, but LinkedIn is definitely the best way to find me, and best way to get in touch with me. So if there's any questions, by all means. We also have a website, so there's more information out about the recent book that I co-authored with Mike Taylor, and also another way to get in touch with me through email.
Excellent. That just leaves me to say for today, Bianca, thank you very much for joining me on the pod.
Thanks for having me, Bill. It was a pleasure.